for sure. You were there by our side, and you'll be there by our side again. The tragedies we were forced to deal with, the losses of first responders in senseless killings, the families and friends who lost loved ones in unexplainable accidents. Lord, these things have made us stronger individuals, and some made us stronger as a community. Only you know what we will face in 2023, and we ask you to help us overcome those challenges. We ask you to keep our families and friends safe as we take on life on a day-to-day basis. Let our beautiful city of Diamond Head be a shining light to others around us. May we stand tall and pure. Let us conduct business as we should and always keep our residents' top priorities in mind. Keep our nation a blessed nation and under you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. City Clerk?
Mayor Gabrielle,
Here.
Councilmember Finley,
Here.
Councilmember Lisi.
Here.
Councilmember Cumberland,
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Could I get a motion to confirm the agenda?
So moved.
Or- Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
The next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held on January 17th, 2023 in the council chambers at City Hall at 6 p.m. The Diamond Head Senior Fair will be next Tuesday, January 10th, 10 to noon here in the council chambers. We should have about 30 vendors talking about all the needs for seniors, so y'all try to attend this. And we didn't have it listed on there, but it is going to be in the council chambers, right? Like we always do? Okay, all right, just confirming that. Present, 10 to noon, 10 to noon. And there will be complimentary refreshments and coffee and drinks, and a lot of vendors here with anything that can help seniors. A lot of knowledge, so make plans to attend. Next, we have a presentation by Covington Civil and Environmental Engineers on the Commercial District Road cross-section.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think y'all have some drawings in front of you there.
We do.
So what we did, just to recap from the last council meeting, there was concern over the roadway width that we were using on the commercial district because of what y'all were seeing on East Aloha. So we went through and looked at our design and everything. So it looked to us like the concerns would be from where we were proposing at the Leisure Time extension to Noma. Really had an optimal roadway width. It was 11 foot, which it was actually 22 feet, face of curb to face of curb. So we felt like that was adequate based on the feedback we'd gotten from y'all. Then what we looked at was the section from Park 10 Drive to Bowling Alley. Park 10 and Bowling Alley to Leisure Time. So that was where it was the narrowest and basically what we're seeing on East Aloha. So the options that we looked at was, do nothing. This is what was approved, Orion, ordinance requirements, et cetera. Option two, what we did was we basically handled everything just with striping. So we're effectively reducing the parallel parking area from 8 feet to 7, and that would give us an additional 1 foot of roadway width. However, what our suggestion is on that is it's really kind of creating a false sense of the roadway width once you start getting vehicles parking there, which is your largest obstruction, what you're kind of want to deviate around. That's still going to be a problem. So we felt like that probably wasn't the route to go for the best solution. Even to address that, we had a cost component for the time and effort to go through in the drawings and looking about a couple week time to address those revisions. The third option was looking at the diagonal parking, and we've got these exhibits here. Sorry. Yeah, let me see.
I saw them. Can't remember what page.
Right, but we did have the other ones addressed. So.
You had
uh,
diagonal for golf carts, which is
Right,
good.
right. We had the diagonal for the golf carts. So if, this is I'm looking at sheet number 5. I know these are kind of out of order here, but if you look at that working number at the bottom right, it's TC 60M-5. So this was that stretch that we were concerned with. This is the plan, the original approved plan, which was that 8-foot parallel parking width from face of curb, and then a 10-foot at the bulb outs from face of curb to center line. So getting back to our options that we investigated, we looked at those diagonal options with just putting the diagonal spots on a 45-degree on the south side. So what that would entail is that shifts the whole center line of the road approximately 8 feet.
Ooh.
So that becomes problematic for us at the leisure time intersection because we're basically changing sections. So right now we're lined up. And then if we did that, it would shift it. So
Thank you
it's,
for checking.
yeah, so it was
It's
a
fine.
complete redesign there. So we
Yeah.
took a look at
I
that.
can do
The fourth option, which I think is probably the most favorable if y'all want to do something, would be basically reducing that sidewalk by a foot on the north-south side. And then we can take that curb, drainage and everything, just shift 1 foot south, 1 foot north. And that'd be the most effective and dramatic change versus what you've seen on the east of Aloha. However, that would require the variance. And just want to kind of circle back to what Orion had kind of talked about. I mean, the intent of it is to slow people down, have people walking, not have people feel super comfortable that they feel like they can drive however fast they want to. So at this point, it's just kind of a preference on which direction the council would like to go in.
And we don't want them to feel super comfortable, but we losing 2 feet compared to East Aloha, and we're already very tight. You know, a lot of residents, I know Chuck said every other day gets complaints. Is there any way, I think just on this section, can we get rid of all the knockouts that go with the sidewalks where you're bulbing out and the road's only 9 feet, each lane's only 9 feet?
So we're talking about the section from leisure time to Park 10?
Is that the only place the road's 9 feet?
Yes, because after leisure time, it basically gets into that typical section to where we don't have, and we just continue that on until NOMA.
So you're talking about sheets WS5 and WS6, that area which probably isn't that horribly long.
And if you kind of get back to the beginning of the packet there, and I think you can kind of see how these marry together. I'm looking at that working number, INT-3. So that's that north leg connection to leisure time. And so where we go from a optimal, if you will, roadway width that everybody's comfortable with headed to NOMA, out there to the west. And then what we're talking about now, what's headed east down Jex there. So you mentioned omitting the bulb outs?
Just on sheets WS5 and WS6, that's the 2 that starts at the bowling alley to leisure time. That is not a very long, and then everything could stay the same. And you just do the T parallel parking and.
How many knockouts do we have in that area?
Really what I would say is you have on that south side, you have 1, 2, looks like about 5 parallel parking stalls with bulb outs between, maybe 3 or 4 bulb outs between, and then the golf cart slanted parking.
I guess we could save some money if we reduce some of those.
Maybe have 1 on each side, or 2 at the most.
That'd still allow more parking, but still serve the purpose.
That's a good
I don't want to open it all
compromise.
the way up, 'cause
gonna be like a third lane in a way, kind of. I don't want nobody to think that's a passing lane.
Or just do maybe 2 on each side instead of the 5.
Okay.
Because that reduces the lane width to 9 feet, and we're having trouble right now at 10, which was 20, and now it's 18.
Well, I gotta ask, where they bulb out, is that a crosswalk?
No, it is not. So the crosswalks would only be at the intersections.
Okay.
So it would still be down to 9 feet at the intersection, so with the rollover curve. What kind of savings would that be at the with the eliminating those, what are you calling them, bulb outs?
Yeah, I mean, it's really what we may be talking about doing is converting green space to,
Parking.
paved,
Mhm.
so it would be more expensive just on balance.
I being one of the ones that was last council meeting saying I didn't think it would work with it being a foot smaller than East Lower. I've had a long 2 weeks thinking about it. And one of the things the Orion engineer kind of like kept in the back of my mind was that they've done this all over, and why wouldn't it work here? And I think building a new place, this is pretty much going new where there's not been a road already. I think the expectations are different than if you're going to a place where they had a wider road and then you're reducing it down to starting where there was nothing really and now just putting in. I think people would be more prepared to take it slow. Like if you're going down to new roads in a new area, you don't go barging down them. But if you're going to like Rouse's all the time and then all of a sudden it's a different thing, that I think mentality isn't present in this place. And so for me, I think getting this approved and on the books and actually getting bids out, I say keep it the way it has been from the engineers originally, and let's just go that way and not look at any changes whatsoever to it now.
And I would like to say, I went to East Aloha myself, and just kind of took a look around. As we mentioned previously, we had identified that the radiuses at the intersections were a little bit less than preferred, and so that's why we went through all the rollover curbing. For me, I thought the lane width was adequate on the travel lane, especially knowing the intent to slow down. I think people are still driving through there relatively fast, and also think the bulk of the problem is the radius at the intersection. I know one of our roadway engineer went out there, and he mentioned to me that they would swing out and cross the center line just to avoid that wheel impact on that radius there at the intersection. So
I've designed a lot of roadways in my lifetime. I worked on Government Street, so I've got a lot behind me. I would never do a 9-foot, so I would never want that in the place that I love and live. It would have never got approved a 9-foot. That's like unheard of. And to me, it slows down, but it's unsafe. If somebody accidentally comes up on that and they are driving a little too fast, they hit that bulb out, they're going to flip up, especially a golf cart. So I'm all into eliminating some of the bulb outs and keeping everything the same. That's a matter of you erasing a few lines. It'll take 10 minutes. I could help you if they'd let me, but they won't. So that's my thought, maybe 2 on the south and 2 on the north. And have more parking. So we're getting more for our money having parking for businesses instead of having islands sticking out blocking the roadway with.
Is what the mayor's discussing, would that cost any time at all? When I say any time, I mean like more than a day.
I'd have to revisit that with them. It's not so much just the curbing, it's all of our drainage is curb inlets. So
I'm just talking about, specifically on what we're calling the bulb outs.
yeah, I'd have to verify what the impact is to the drainage to
Okay,
really
I'm sorry,
say,
drainage, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Beg your pardon.
yeah.
It should be minimal, though.
Yeah, it should be a ton.
Oh, no, it should not be.
I will say, we just, we're wrapping up, and we've submitted plans to Water and Sewer District late last week. Not that this would necessarily impact the utilities, but
And
that's where we are.
I'm very fast on civil authorities, so my opinion may not matter. I mean, I could do it I could do it in a day, but I'm not saying that you should, but I'm just saying I could.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I guess the other thought was, talking about strategically placing the parking under, in areas where it's currently vacant property. I don't know that the water and sewer district necessarily needs parallel parking or the sheet metal shop. So, I mean, if we're looking at all that, just a thought.
There's a parking lot drawn in front of the water department, so you're gonna go past the water department if you're coming from, say, the bowling alley, and then turn and drive back in front of it, and there's parallel parking there, and then you go out.
Right. Yes, so
Or is that part of our plan?
yes,
that
it
parking
is.
lot?
So what we had to do is just where the proposed road laid versus where the existing Diamond Head Water and Sewer District parking lot is. We're impacting a good portion of that with this new corridor. And they currently also just back out into the road. So we were trying to, working with them, trying to get something that's favorable for them to remain, in an ideal operating condition.
Did they like this?
This was discussed with them.
Okay.
It has not been agreed upon, to my knowledge, but they have seen it.
So I just had a question about the bulb outs as they are now. Are there trees planted in those? I mean, what would they look like as the plan is right now
Yes, there's the tree wells and the.
in the bulb outs?
Yes,
So if the bulb outs go away, then we don't have anywhere to plant trees?
yes.
Okay. I couldn't tell from the drawing, so thank you.
Yes.
Why on sheet 5 does it look like the trees are shown behind the back of curb, not in the bulb outs? It's just showing a little bench in the bulb out.
Oh, I'm mistaken then. They are.
Yeah,
in the-
there's not
So they're
trees.
not in the bulb outs?
No.
Okay.
Benches in the bowl.
Okay.
Benches, and we got plenty of places to sit. The trees, you see the little,
Aren't
they look
those-
like this.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I like the angle parking on the golf carts. That looks really nice. These all look really nice. We're just concerned about,
Yeah, and I guess that just kind of circles us back to what's approved by ordinance and the need to get a variance if we change it, and then steps moving forward if
Does it help
standard is
anything
not
to-
what the
Does it help
standard needs to
anything
be.
to decrease the depth of the bulb out?
I'd have to revisit that with our
I
roadway
mean, like, if,
guys.
I'm saying if y'all determined that we
I mean,
needed it for
that's-
drainage, or whatever, if we could just make it not stick out as far.
So that was basically the option 2 that we had looked at. So reducing those bulb outs by a foot.
Because they're what, 6 feet or 5 feet right now?
I think they're about 8 feet.
8, okay.
Yeah, that basically kind of delineates those parallel
So they
parking
let people know.
stalls.
you can't hit a car,
Not
you'll
to-
hit the curb and go up.
Yeah.
We have to get a variance to eliminate all but 2 on the south and the north side between leisure time. Is it written in the ordinance that they're specifically spaced at a certain on-center?
I think what we're talking about is the section that we're using, that typical section, and deviating from that.
Okay, so you wouldn't need a variance to eliminate 3 on the south and north.
By eliminating, we're going to widen the road. That's what we're ultimately going to do. We're going to reduce the width of that bulb out so we can
No,
effectively
we were just
widen
talking
the
about
road.
having 2 bulb outs on the north and 2 on the south and putting parallel parking where we remove the ones.
So roadway widths would remain the same.
Everything stays the same.
Okay.
Okay. Just don't have all those bulb outs because the road width, and we don't want you to change the center line. I know how bad that would be.
Mhm.
That would be like starting over completely.
Mhm.
Very bad.
So knowing that, does that change the answer to Shane's question?
Let me revisit that with you.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, our roadway guys were the ones that did obviously the roadway and the drainage and the curbing. So I'm just kind of relaying what they gave us.
So when you say, let me revisit that.
Is to protect the cars. So if we remove them,
They're to protect the cars that are parking, but like past Christian Second Street is all continuous parallel, and it's beautiful. Government Street's that way, Washington Street's that, you know, the high-traffic areas that have, Bay St. Louis is that way, our own, you know what I'm saying?
So just reducing bulb outs and making more parking. We'll just continue on.
The lane widths are the same.
I mean, I'm looking at a bulb out and how many more parking spaces are you getting? It's not even what? How many more parking spaces you gonna get?
And the point is not to get the parking spaces, but it's because between leisure time and the water sewer district, I mean, between the water sewer district and the bowling alley, which is not very far,
No.
every time you get a bulb out, John, the road width is 9 feet. 9 and 9. You know how small that is?
And we got two intersections there that do the same thing, correct?
Mm-hmm. So they'll
how
slow
many
down
bulb
at the
out?
intersections. They're forced, he said 5 and 5.
So I
So-
think, just looking at the south side, for instance, I think we've got maybe one bulb out we could eliminate.
Oh, so there's only 3?
Well, if you start at, the Water and Sewer District, I'm
Mhm.
looking at INT three.
Mhm.
I don't think we can extend, this is one parking lot, one stall, right in front of the Water and Sewer District.
Right?
So we can omit it, and just curb, but that's still the same roadway width. And then you get past Water and Sewer District, you got another one, then you get to the, I don't remember what we're calling this leg here, that alley, that 30-foot alley next to the water and sewer. We get to the intersection, we get to the opposite side. We could probably shorten that bulb out and then omit the one on the next sheet.
At
It's
station.
an intermediate.
About 104. Station 104.
Yes.
Okay.
And, yeah, omit the one that's, 104. And then we've got another one we gotta start as we get to the bowling alley, road.
What station is the bowling alley at?
This would be 606. No, I'm sorry.
Is it 303?
I see a 106 on Jex there. It's on sheet INT 5.
Should be the bowling alley right here, 106. This is the road in front of it.
106?
So it's basically at about 900 where all
106?
those, where Park 10 and Jex intersect.
There's really only
So,
one.
yeah, really, 104. So that should take you 5 minutes. Forget a day.
But I have the question of, we're removing green space then with removing these, is that not correct?
Correct.
And I think part of the design built into this is to have it a unique look to it, not just to have a roadway itself, but to also have a pleasurable experience driving this roadway and having them slow down so they can see what's gonna be coming there. That would entice people to come and wanna build their storefronts and their buildings along this and have people going slow to see it rather than just get to point A to point B. So I'm kind of in favor of having the bold outs be, even if it is gonna be narrowing in 4 or 5 places, to let people just say, let's go extra slow during it. I mean, there's 4 or 5 places that they'll go extra slow. Maybe they'll go down to 10 miles an hour instead of 15 or 20. And to me, there's nothing wrong with having that happen.
Half the bulb out's concrete with a bench.
But they do have some dirt there to it, right? Whereas if
A
we took
little
it out,
bit
it
of
would just
dirt,
be
but all-
sidewalk.
All the trees are what attract people and make them want to stay, so all the trees stay
flowers.
where they are. And I see your thought on, I just, 9 feet is just, that's a parking. So for residents to understand that, that's the width of a parking stall that we're gonna be driving down with trucks with big mirrors. With cars that tend to meander. That's a parking width width. That is very narrow. Some people can't go on a 9-foot parking width without accidentally hitting somebody. So driving, that's just my thought.
I hear you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really a couple
It's a
that we're
couple.
really losing, so, you know, either which way to me.
But the
Um,
intersection will
let-
still be 9,
let's
no
do
matter what.
something to get this done so that you
Right.
guys can work and get it in.
Yes.
So one way or the other,
Exactly.
let's have it done.
Are we in a position to go with what we have already, right now?
We still have some acquisition things that we were working through, so what we're gonna have to do is omit a couple items out of the phase one bid set while we work through that acquisition, so we were already having to do a little bit of cleanup to it. Need a will serve from Water and Sewer District and their approval and their buy-in. And then once we have that, we can get approval for the utilities, on the state level, health department, DEQ, and then we would have everything we need. But
You probably
at this point, we're,
Couple
other
of
than whatever
months.
we need to do, yeah.
He's a couple of months with all the permitting. You know, we had to go to water, go to the health department, DEQ.
The state's usually pretty quick, so I think if we could just,
Get the
get
water,
everything
sewer.
coordinated here,
Mhm.
I think we'd be in pretty good shape.
So maybe in a month or two, you'll have all the
Yeah,
permitting.
month best case, I would say, yes.
Okay.
So it wouldn't slow the project down.
No, I mean, if we wanted to make some changes, now's the time to do it, before we go out to advertise.
Without slowing down the project.
Right, because this doesn't fundamentally change anything as it pertains to any of those agencies that I mentioned.
And adding
We
to the
should have a
cost.
vote for one more? Get it so that they can do it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the bulb outs.
We can just tell them.
I don't know that this, what we're talking about here, omitting or keeping, it's not gonna make a huge
have to vote.
impact. I mean, it's all the sidewalk and decorative stuff that's got the cost to it.
Couple of benches.
Yeah, what we've talked about here isn't gonna affect one way or the other.
So, Mayor, why don't we just call for a vote and get the council to give them the permission to go ahead with taking out the bulk build-outs, or?
Do we need a vote? Can you just hear our concerns? Are we not all on the same page?
I don't wanna do anything that's gonna slow the project down, but if we have time and
I'm with John.
if we're
If
gonna
there's
spend a
time.
bunch of money,
Mhm.
I don't wanna spend money too.
You know, like it doesn't cost more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got time. We certainly have the time to do it. I'd have to revisit. I don't think this is gonna constitute much of a change from our perspective. I have to verify that, but I think it's all manageable.
And we're not adding to the bill, right?
No, not, well, we've got our sub-consultant we work with. We gotta, work with him as well, just to make sure. But in my mind, this isn't a huge drastic change that's gonna require a whole lot of effort.
All right. Does anybody
No,
disagree?
Hold on, well, I do for a second. I spoke with Ben this afternoon about all this, and he gave me a number of, just about $20,000. But is that something different than what?
Yeah, that was
you're
for
proposing now?
basically taking a foot out of the sidewalk, shifting all the curbing, north and south, curb, gutter, drainage, what have you. And then, so now we're really just talking about omitting.
Now, if we went ahead and bid now, would that other stuff be able to be done at the same time and everything be approved? Or either way, we're still gonna have to wait till, I'm just asking.
It depends on how the contract's prepared. We certainly could put a clause in for additional time.
If the,
Yeah,
D-
while we
DEQs
obtain
are
this
ready.
this permitting,
Gotcha.
we
Okay.
could do that.
So we can advertise without permits?
Yes, once we do the cleanup that we know we need to do.
Yeah, I'm not into advertising without permits. I learned that years ago.
I'd rather
Don't
not
ever,
myself.
never, ever, never. I would not vote to do that. I'm sorry. Very dangerous.
And the permits, the only permits we're waiting on is for the will serve and
We need the will
the
serve.
sewer utilities.
And they have to get happy with
Water, yeah, water and sewer.
the parking, and we
lot.
want them to get happy. We do. So there's time for you to work.
I just had one more question. Just as a compromise, is it possible just to keep some of the green space, since they're 8 feet, just to reduce them to like 4 or 5 feet? You don't even have to have a bench there, just some grass, just to protect the cars a little, and then still give you like a lot more extra room. Is there any benefit to that, or that not help anything? I
Um,
don't know, I'm just asking.
If we don't have to deviate that drainage too much, it probably does help. So if we've got like an inlet right in that bulb, and
'Cause
we
I
could
see-
just
I
kind of
agree with-
shift it,
I agree with the
that
mayor
probably
that
does
would
make it
be
easier.
Nice to have, but I also agree with Gerard that I'd hate to see, no green. But I just didn't know if that might be a compromise that, so.
Yeah, one
He's
of
gonna
the
have to
things that,
stripe, if he does that, you're gonna have to put cross-angle striping, so people know they can't drive on it, because
Right.
it's the end of the parking bay. The
Right.
curb, the bulb out
Mhm.
at the width the depth it is the end of the parking bay, so that's what, if not, if he pulls it back, he's gotta do cross-hatching.
Because you're basically just gonna allow the cars in the
Yes.
roadway to clip cars out of the roadway.
Exactly,
That's why I
Councilman
asked,
Finley.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we'll, probably best just to leave it
Either do it or don't.
right, and leave them all
Okay, well,
dimensionally the
that's what I wanted-
same.
That's what I wanted to know.
Because, I mean, once we get in and start editing, it's probably not that big a difference.
Okay, well, does anybody not wanna do this?
But there's nothing we can do tonight. There's nothing we can do tonight, correct? We can't bid.
No,
We
so.
don't have this, so
Mhm.
nothing we can do here tonight slows us down otherwise. I think we're all,
On the same page?
yeah, willing to, as long as it costs no time and no money, I'm in.
Mhm. I'm with Councilman Finley.
Zero and zero.
That's me too.
Understood.
Thank you very much, and
No
thanks for
time,
the
no money.
presentation, because
Yes.
I know you all, it took time to put this together, so thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the city manager's report.
Yes, starting with the McKeekee Drive project, the sewer line, the new sewer line has been put in by Diamond Head Water and Sewer. I have pictures of that in case you want to see them. So the contractor now just has to come in and put in his conflict box, and then do the water line and put in the steel casing around it. Then they can close up the road and then hopefully let it settle for probably 30 days. The contract overall ends on January 9th, so we're going to have to either adjust that date or he'll just be outside of his contract time to get finished. Paving, Phase 4 paving, like I said, they're demobilized. The current end date on that still is February 15th. The Hilo Way, still waiting on the engineer and the contractor to get back with me on their finalized paperwork and issue a notice to proceed and get started on that project. And then the traffic study that we're working on, we're waiting on the report that they've done on Capilama, and then they have started to work on the Golf Club Drive section with the country club and the two new roadway entrances to see how we're going to make that whole thing look better and work with that many roads coming into that little section right there. And that's it.
Any questions to my left?
Well, I'm gonna ask because nobody else has got started yet. How about the Ramada?
I spoke to the gentleman today, actually, ran into him in the parking lot and spoke to him today. He is still hoping to open soon. We've got to come to an agreement or an understanding as far as the fire alarm system as well as the fire sprinkler system. Both of those are required, and he's going to have to get them installed before we can open that building up.
Seems to be a lot of activity around it though. So
There
it's
is a lot of
hoping they were
activity.
doing it.
Our building officials have been over there and looked. As of right now, no real major work is being done. He does have his fire alarm system in, looking for a permit for that, so we're waiting on to review that, and then we'll get started on that.
Okay, any of the questions to my left? You don't have any? Councilman Clark.
I'll come up with something.
Okay, you be thinking, I'll come back. To my right?
I just had one, any update on the mud running into the golf course pond on hole 13?
I did speak to the contractor about that, or actually the engineer, and I did get a response back from the contractor, and they sent somebody out last week to do some more erosion control and try to
So they're
prevent that
working
from
on it?
happening. So I don't know if it's helped or not.
Okay, well,
We'll have to wait and see.
but you heard some, okay.
Yeah, I have not heard anything back as far as whether that did any good. And maybe we can, see after today's rain whether that,
Yeah.
has done anything or not.
Okay, thank you.
What? Okay. I had a few things. I see we have Miss Vicky here, so I know she'd love to hear an update on Diamond Head Drive North, Amoka, Kaliki. Do we know of any, where is, and that's a
Yeah, the engineers are working on that.
Covington
and-
Engineering
right,
project
We're just working on each one of those projects, and hopefully we'll have something, to bring to the council soon,
on that one?
on all of that.
Yeah, because that whole area is, and the rain season's about to come, and it's very serious. So we need to move a little faster. Thank you. The recycling dumpster. I want to give a shout out to the Birch family, Hal and Shalonda, for getting out there with their 3 children and cleaning up the recycling dumpster. When I tell y'all it was 18 feet long and 4 feet high, it was every bit of it. It was a shame. Which brings me to, are the cameras working, and have we done anything to catch anybody, or where are we with that?
I'll have to check with the county, it's their cameras, to see if they can, retrieve pictures off of it and what we've got.
Can we e-blast to the residents and remind them that if the dumpster is full, do not leave it on the side? Because I have seen Ty out there picking it up. I've ridden by in the morning and Ty's out there picking it up, and that's the Public Works Director.
Right.
You know, now, this was the worst I have ever seen it. And I rode by Bay St. Louis earlier today, and it looked like ours did. So it's a common problem that we need to fix, or we need to think of a solution.
Right.
Can we e-blast and let residents know if it's completely full? There's no need to put it on the side, because somebody's gonna have to go pick it up and put it in the dumpster.
I will certainly do that.
Thank you. I know, that little family worked hard. Okay. Is that all for the city manager?
Yes. That's it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And thank you for dealing with all of us. I know it's not easy. All right, moving on to, do we have any public comments? Oh, okay. Could I get a motion to approve the December 20th, 22 regularly scheduled meeting minutes? Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor? Aye. Could I get a motion to approve consent agenda items 2 through 10?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor? Aye. Could I get a motion to approve the docket of claims DKT 230343, DKT 230368 in the amount of $111,076.29? Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any public comments on a non-agenda item? Council, is there any need for executive session? We are just on a roll. Okay. Could I, any other business before the council that needs to be addressed tonight? Could I get a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Councilman Finley. Was that a motion? Second by Councilman Cumberland. That was a second?
Sure, second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.